Hey, it's Joshua Taylor coming to you from this 5th or 6th day of October. It's Sunday. That's my little friend in the background there. Say hello, Max. He is so glad that he doesn't have to stay in that van. And because I know he's been suffering a bit and not being able to stretch and walk about. So I want to do this video today. This is the first time I've really haven't shared, what happened to me back in 1988. And when the Lord came and he kind of pinned me to the couch and had to watch what was before me, right? And when he took me into translated me into the future where I walked the streets of Vancouver. And, like you weren't just watching the video, you were right in the vision. And all the things that he showed me in those 7 visions, they had a lot of impact. I didn't share with nobody for a full year. And after a year, I asked the Lord to take away the spiritual memory, because, I've seen right at the end, I saw the faces of 3 million people on a big picture screen. Each person was like each face was like a pixel, right? And I've seen every single person of those 3 million people individually and yet collectively, and I was fully connected with their thoughts and their intentions, could feel their pain and their suffering as they died. And the human mind cannot comprehend what it's like. None of you out there can comprehend what it was like, because you're seeing it from the Father's perspective. And I tell you, that's changed my life, and I know that every 24 hours that passes, that what the Lord showed me is just that much closer. And having studied out what the Lord showed Chuck Youngbrandt and putting a timeline together, I was able to merge the 7 open visions as far as the timing of it into that 3-year period. So I know fairly certain that the destruction in Vancouver, where those 3 million people are going to die, is going to happen in the month of April, May, around that season, around about the time that what Gil Bassard was saying, like, if we see this star in the sky where Nibiru becomes visible, and where it's going to become bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're going to know that it's that the pole shift event is not incoming, right? When you see this incoming object coming in next October, then by the following September or April, it's going to be doomsday. It's going to pass by the Earth 21 million miles away. It'd be about the size of the moon. Back in the time of the Exodus, it took up actually a good portion of the sky. It was huge, much bigger than the moon. But this time it's going to pass within 21 million miles, according to what other people have seen. But even from that distance, it's going to be huge, and the magnetic effect that it's going to have on the Earth, it's going to cause the sun to go dark. It's going to bring in the 3 days of darkness, and it's going to bring in the pole shift. And it wasn't until several years ago or so that the Lord awakened my memory of what I've seen. A lot of the stuff I asked the Lord to take away, and he buried it in my subconscious. But parts of it, of what he showed me, does rise up. I didn't write about it. I didn't talk about it for a whole year. And I didn't write about it until 5 years after the fact, right? And That's one of the reasons why I moved to Vancouver in the West Coast, was to get the warning out. And why I kind of hung around this area, because I know God has a heart and purpose for it. And the Lord planted me here in this place. I know there's two things that He's requiring of me. Is to set forth a spiritual foundation. Get up in the morning and dedicate my day to reading the Word and prayer and meditation, and to make it into a lifestyle. Right? This is what's going to get us through. Now we're going to have a dedicated walk with the Lord to make it through the times that are coming up. You can prepare all you want in the natural, but if you don't have a spiritual foundation underneath your feet, you're not going to make it through. You won't make it through the 3 days of darkness. You're just going to lose it, right? We're going to have our walk on the Word, and the Word's going to have to be in us, and we're going to have to know the Word. And that's why the Lord has planted me here for a season. And I know that in my heart that I have to be ready by the first part of December. I have to have all this foundation steadfast, and learn to move in the Spirit, walk in the Spirit, move in the Spirit. And I feel that this Christmas could be the shake-up. We could see an 8.3 or something like that hit Seattle area, Portland, and which is going to affect Vancouver Island, because they're very close together. If you look at a map, they're not all that many miles apart. So it could be that this shaking's coming this December, and I have to be ready. And when it comes, the word is going to be, it's not over. This is just the start. So when, if Portland is getting hit with an 8 or something like that, it's just the start. It's just the warning bell. And God's turning on the timer. And He's going to give people so much time to prepare to leave out the West Coast. And there's been times in the past the Lord's called me on missions by way of visions. And I've been in the media, in the national media, a number of times. And I believe that God's going to put me into the national media, probably international media, when this time comes. And it doesn't matter what the experts say. The government experts don't matter. Their opinions don't count. Because it's God. God is the one that's going to bring the final earthquake on the West Coast. It's going to be His hand that's going to come down. But He's going to give people the time. He's going to pour out His mercy. And those who prepare are going to benefit from it. And those who reject His mercy, they may get out with their life. But for the most part, all the people that I saw evacuate from Vancouver Island was under full-scale evacuation, just in the second vision of the 7 visions. And so I know when I walked into the newspaper office in Victoria that morning, when the visions actually started, God did bring me into a series of pre-visions prior to that. But when this mission actually started, then I got off the ferry from the Black Ball ferry from Port Angeles to Victoria and walked into the newspaper office there. I didn't advertise and say, "Well, thus saith the Lord," or nothing like that. I was just dressed in black, carrying a staff in my right hand. But they knew me. They knew me by sight, right? I was well known in the media, and I think this is what's coming up. That the Lord's preparing me for this time, and so when this earthquake does happen, there will be a preliminary earthquake as a wake-up call. That's going to bring in, God's going to have to. He's going to bring in a spiritual awakening, and there's going to be a harvest that's going to be gathered and before the end, right? But also at the same time, people, those that believes, they're going to say, well, what can we do? What can we do to prepare, right? And I'm going to have to be ready in my heart and in my spirit to be able to give an answer. And I don't know. I feel the weight of it on my shoulder. I know the time is getting close where the Lord's going to thrust me out and to say, okay, it's time to get these arks ready. It's time to get prepared. It's time to start putting this Exodus together. And I know that I'm going to be very busy. But there's souls to be saved, but there's a righteous remnant that God's going to spare. And that's what I saw leaving out from Vancouver or the east side of Surrey, this 50-mile convoy of vehicles. And these people were fully prepared, 10,000 vehicles of all descriptions. And they were fully prepared to make a 1,400-kilometer journey, around 900 mile, under 1,000-mile journey up north. And in these places up north, they're going to have to, the people's hearts are going to have to be prepared to receive this exodus of people that's coming up, right? And so there's going to be work on the home front, and there's going to be advanced work that's going to have to be done to get people ready. So I know that God's put me here. I'm really going to have to press in and be diligent. And a lot of times you start a spiritual quest, but you don't keep it, right? And so God's calling, He's calling us all on a spiritual quest. And we're going to have to keep it every day. Every day we're going to have to dedicate our lives to the Lord. And if you're in leadership, I know what the Lord spoke to David Terrell, at least 4 hours a day. Because you can't be busy out directing traffic or whatever unless you have time in the Lord first, because that's where your strength and your direction is going to come from. That God's going to use you as a vessel to flow through you to speak to others. But it's coming, and I know it's not all that far. The short term in this would be April of 2021, where we could see the total destruction of Vancouver and the West Coast. If not, it'd be the spring of 2022. I don't know, but I'm praying that God will give me some insight as I press into Him. And but I know it's getting close, and the preparation time will be enough for people to get ready, right? And a year's work is going to have to be compressed into one day. People's going to have to come together in the love of God. People's going to have to sell out. That's all there is to it. We're going to have to come together by the Spirit of the Lord. But judgment is coming. And Vancouver, God's going to destroy Vancouver. Vancouver Island's going to be gone. All the West Coast is going to be gone because of sin. God has to judge sin in the nation, but yet He's going to pour out His judgment in mercy to get people's time for them to repent in their heart and to begin to take action to secure their livelihood for what's coming. If we don't prepare, then we pay the price. But a great shaking is coming, not just in the physical, but in the spiritual. All right, I'm going to end it here and get this uploaded. This is Joshua Taylor coming to you from here in my new place in North Bend, British Columbia.